Hello, YouTube friends. My name is Melissa. This is my ministry partner, Andrea Bruce. Andy, do you know why we are gathering here together today?
Yes, because you told me. Sit down.
We're gonna do this.
Yes.
You know that I'm being stretched like taffy. That's what I feel like stress-wise. What are we doing today?
We are sitting for hours upon hours in front of a whiteboard to unpack and plan Bible Lab.
Yesterday, as I was interacting with my family and thinking, how am I going to do this with Andy? Because I get so snappy and telling Jared, like, tell me in 3 sentences or less, or don't tell me at all. Just that very aggressive, focused. So I thought, you know what we need to bring out? What do we need to bring out?
Oh, Philippians 4.
Philippians 4, which I don't think I've told you guys about. We have never shared with my YouTube friends here, Philippians 4. And I thought, if there's ever a day to do this, it is today. We started doing this, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, what I remember is us looking through Philippians 4 to teach some women who were gathered online. And we got to these verses. I felt like, I do believe this. I want to know how to live this. And so that's what's been super special about this process for us is we're taking very obvious black and white steps. Like I know when I'm in this and I know when I'm not.
And I'm just going to read it line by line, and let's do it as I read it line by line, okay?
Okay.
So step number 1, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. You guys are going to remember that song. Did you grow up with that song?
I did.
Did you really?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that's all I can think of when I hear that. So when we say rejoice in the Lord, describe that a little bit, Andy. And we're going to go ahead and do it.
I could rejoice in all kinds of things. I could rejoice in a new coffee maker, a dog, my kids, but that is really different from what this verse tells me to do. Rejoicing in the Lord, entirely different. It's what am I not just thankful, but oh, so celebratory because God has done it or God has given it.
So go ahead, rejoice in the Lord.
Do it now. Do it now.
For me, I'm rejoicing in the Lord because of seasons and people to navigate seasons of like, I don't have to think through this stuff alone. Like, God, you've given me people. You've set times and seasons and I don't have to be afraid. Like, thank you. And wow. So that's when, for me, I know that there's rejoicing is not just thank you, but like, whoa, this is too much.
So for me, I'm going to rejoice in the Lord because I've been praying and praying for the last 4 years. You'll know this, to be present in my body. I'm stretched thin like taffy, and I will be driving down the road or I'll be in my room or I'll be doing dishes. It is Him reminding me like, oh, I'm near, Melissa. I'm close. You only have to worry about this moment and to be just very present, feeling the water in my hands and knowing there's nothing else I need to do in this moment except be with God. I'm so not in the present, and I'm rejoicing in Him because it is a long-term prayer that I'm finally seeing answered.
That's amazing.
So that's step number 1, rejoice in the Lord. And that sets and fixes our eyes on Him. Wouldn't you say that that's what it is?
Absolutely.
It's a looking for how to celebrate Him.
The other thing is the more that I do this, the more I'm like, and that, God, and that.
Yes.
It sets my heart on a trajectory of rejoicing in the Lord, of living with Him, of noticing Him in ways that if I'm apart from a process like this, good luck.
Number 2, this is the hardest one for me. Let your gentleness be evident to all. Okay, this is the sentence after though. It's like, why and how am I to be gentle to everyone? The Lord is near. And I remember this really sticking out to me because by my wiring, I am not a gentle person. I'm assertive, I'm short, I'm blunt, I'm to the point, not very gentle. And as I reflected on this verse, it's like, well, why am I those ways? When I get the most quick-tongued, usually it's out of anxiety or anger, or I'm taking it into my own hands to be like, Andy, come on, let's go. I'm not trusting that the Lord is near and that He is taking care of all of this. It's now on my shoulders to bear, and that makes me not gentle. When I trust in God that He is near and He's taking care of it, there's just a gentleness my form of gentleness that will come over me.
I love that you bring that clarity about the Lord is near, because I used to 100% read these verses like dad's in the room, dad's home, we all behave better. Like, let your gentleness be evident to all because dad's home.
The Lord is near.
Yes.
He's watching you. That's interesting.
That is so how my siblings and I behaved, is one way until dad got home. And then it's like, you don't do that when dad's home. And that is very naturally, like, second nature how I would read this until you begin to do that. And I'm like, that's right. I remember you drawing a line between our anxiety, our like prickliness, our saltiness, our short-temperedness. But if we believed and trusted and gave place, you know what I mean by gave place? Like, not that I have to give permission for God to hang out here.
But it's an invitation
like,
in.
Yeah, like submitting to him being here and being like, yes, he is near. My mind changes. Then it's like, oh, he's going to provide for the things that I feel I need to control or dominate.
So what we do on step number 2 is we commit to being gentle. Now, not for all eternity, not for the rest of our days doing ministry together. It's just for the next 5 hours. That's what I'm committing to, the next 5 hours to be gentle. And here's what my commitment to gentleness is. We make it specific. Our friend Candy at Bible Lab, she did this over Marco Polo. And I'm like, thank you, Candy. It came back to mind. I give you full permission. This is what Candy had done with us. I give you full permission to stop me and correct me when I'm sharp-tongued, whether that's in a serious way, whether it's in a playful way, but just to point out to me, because it will happen when I don't even know it's happening. So I give you that permission, number 1. And number 2, if anything goes sideways in this meeting, like, to know that it's not coming from a place where I have a problem with you. I'm not excusing it. I'm letting you know, because I know sometimes you've been like, are you okay with me? Where I'm like, it is, well, sometimes it's you, but this, sometimes it is. This is not. Like, if anything comes across sharp, number 1, I want to be corrected. And number 2, know that I'm not holding anything. I'm just extremely stressed.
That's really helpful, because I assume I'm the trigger, or that I've done something wrong, or I'm bothering you. So thank you for that. You gotta hug me now. For me, I will let my gentleness be, I don't know how to say this because I haven't said this one specifically before, but you know how, I mean, yes, I'm a self-centered person, but it's different than that. It's in my thinking and in my ideas or perceptions, where my way of thinking is how we all, like, sometimes I think I'm a voice for the people, and that they've elected me to tell the world how they feel, think, or perceive things, is like getting out of that and being really aware of it. Now, bringing it to the table, but saying, hey, I kind of think that people think of it this way, instead of this very self-centered, and I understand, and I know, and it's very egocentric. I give you permission to be like, okay, so is that from you, or is that like, are you a voice for the people? You know what I mean?
And the reason she's being real specific to this is because this is a content day. So we've got our eyes fixed on creating content and figuring out the big picture for Bible Lab, amongst other ministry things. And so that's why it's specific like that. What if I say, because it probably will come up, if I say, now that's how you perceive it, is there a different way to perceive it as well? Could there be another 50% that think a different way? Let's just review. Step number 1, rejoice in the Lord. Step number 2, we commit to being gentle because the Lord is near. Number 3, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. This is where we would start probably a longish prayer, which we won't do here, but I would like to pray. But just think a couple sentences.
Thank you for your word, that even in really subtle ways, it perfectly leads your people. Like, I just feel really tended to, even by these verses, with knowing the day ahead of us.
As we start off the day like this with your word, that it would take root in me and it would take root in Andy and produce only what the Spirit can produce. Would you do that, God?
A couple points. A couple Women doing this to their husbands, of saying, I really thank God for you because, and then committing to gentleness, doing it with my children.
Oh, it puts accountability on it. I've done it before.
Game changer. And the
And
husbands
then to have your
are like,
child remind you.
yes, that. Or doing it with coworkers. And it doesn't have to be Christian-y if that's not an appropriate fit for the relationship. You could be like, hey, I'm so grateful to be here. I just want you to know, I want to be really gentle. Like,
I want to listen. That's always mine.
I'm working really hard on listening today. Like, it doesn't have to be oozy woozy spiritual. It could be right where you're at. It's fun to implement this because it does change my heart and mind quickly.
It shifts the air in the room, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
So, okay, my friends, I will see you next week, 2:00 per usual.
Meanwhile, pray for me.
During these sessions, Andy lets me do a lot of talking, which I'm really grateful for. And I talk and she does most of the writing. And even more importantly, as we did this creative work together, we had zero tension, none. And every time we do this, I'm reminded how powerful God's word is.